How our cutting-edge marketing approach nets sellers a staggering 9% more money than other agents. The market has absolutely changed. So we are no longer in the market where you can just throw property on the market and expect to get over asking, especially if you're not doing any marketing. We are now in a market that requires a skill-based agent to be able to get you the most money possible, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So my name is Sonia, and I am here to blow your mind about how we do that for our clients, and so we're not just selling properties. I always tell people that we consider ourselves to be a marketing agency first that happens to sell real estate. We are crushing it with this approach by getting our sellers on average 9% more than the rest of the market is getting their clients. Now, to put this into perspective for you, if we're talking about a $500,000 property here, we're talking about a net difference of about $45,000 at closing. If we're looking at $1 million property, we're talking about a $90,000 difference. So I'm going to share with you my 3 secrets that we know that gets properties sold and gets you the most money possible, and you are about to know them as well. So number 1 is that the best buyers are already shopping for property. We just have to interrupt them from getting to the portal sites and getting to the platforms and make sure they're getting in our world first. So we always tell our clients that when we take a listing, we've already been marketing their listing because we have a database of over 7,000 actively shopping buyers who are looking for properties in all different areas in Metro Atlanta. So we can actually filter down based off of all of those criterias to see who's most actively shopping for a property that's just like yours. Most agents follow the 3 Ps of real estate. They put it on the MLS, they put a sign in the yard, they might do some professional photos, and lastly, the bonus P, they pray that somebody's going to make an offer. And the reality is the ones that have a presentation that they've practiced will also tell you that when they list your property is going to get distributed out to 500 different websites. It's going to be translated to 19 different languages. And I'm here to tell you that no matter who you list with, the MLS does that for everybody automatically. So there's nothing different about that. The challenge with doing it that way is that when the property gets listed and it goes on the market, all of those platforms that are distributing your listing are now selling leads to other agents, which means that is if somebody reaches out about your property, all that's going to happen is that lead is going to get sold to another agent who's willing to pay the most money for that particular lead. And it's probably going to be someone who knows nothing about your property. So your property being distributed to 1 million different websites is great for exposure, but that's not actually what gets properties sold. And so we take that different approach by focusing on nurturing our own database and being really intentional about understanding exactly what they're looking for, so that when we have a property come on the market, we're separating that property from all the noise, from all the different portals, and we're not letting them go shop somewhere else and then having an agent sell them another property. All right, number 2 is that speed absolutely matters, and it matters way more than you probably think. Have you ever reached out to a real estate agent and didn't get a call back right away? What did you do? You were probably just like, okay, whatever. I'll go reach out to somebody else, or I'll probably just forget about the property and move on to another one. And the science actually backs that up. In fact, the stats show that a lead that is not responded to within 5 minutes is actually 400% less likely to turn into a conversion. And so that speed is incredibly important. Now, the most important thing here is that a solo agent is very likely not going to be able to have that level of responsiveness or that level of speed. So what we did is we actually enrolled a call center that specializes in real estate lead conversion. And so what we do is put that phone number on all of our marketing. And so when someone reaches out about one of our listings, they're immediately sent over to the call center. The call center then screens them and then sends them over to us. And we're able to get that buyer into your property and with an offer on the table much faster. simply because of our speed to respond. And secret number 3 is that there's only 2 emotions that drive us to make decisions like making an offer on a property and doing it quickly and aggressively, and that is scarcity and urgency. So think about the pandemic when literally everybody, their mom, grandpa, their dog, and their cousin were all trying to buy a property. Everybody was willing to be super aggressive because everybody wanted to get an offer accepted. Even since long before the pandemic, we've actually been driving that kind of bus. And the way that we do that is through our listing launching pad. So when we put a property on the market, we do a lot of pre-marketing. We do a lot of marketing when that property first comes on, and we hold all of our showings until our listing launch event. So because of that, when they're all coming to the listing launch event and the buyers walking through, and they see a family in the living room decorating how they would rearrange their furniture, and you have another buyer in the kitchen talking about how they can't wait to cook all these family traditional meals there, and have another buyer outside with their agent who's talking about making an offer. There's a lot of psychology that kicks in there that makes it so urgent and so scarce that they now feel if they don't move quickly enough and they're not aggressive enough, then they know that they're going to end up losing it. So the benefit to you as a seller is that instead of the buyers competing against you, the buyers are competing against each other. So ultimately, in the end, you end up winning. And for those of you who are thinking like, okay, well, I only need one buyer. The challenge with only having one buyer is that oftentimes they know they're the only buyer. So even if they get an offer accepted, they will rip you to shreds during the negotiations of inspections and appraisal and all the other things. When you have a bunch of offers on the table, the buyer knows that they can't do that, and you end up winning again in the end. So here's a bonus one. Financing needs to be flexible, and you need to be able to offer creative financing, especially as we see a lot more properties come on the market. So you're going to see that as the economy starts to tighten, and financing is going to get harder for buyers. And so instead of just offering traditional financing, what we've done is built a relationship with lenders that do alternative type financing for self-employed buyers, for foreign nationals, and that way we're able to take the existing buyer pool and expand it because we know how to work with those type of transactions. So that is your 4 secrets. Now you're probably thinking, okay, well that sounds great and all, but how much are you going to sell my house for? And that's a great question, and that's exactly why on this page, you're going to see the link to my calendar. You can pick a time for us to chat. Now, I want to be very clear. We're not into high pressure sales. We're not here to rush you. We truly believe that if it's not an absolute yes, it's an absolute no. So this is very much zero commitment, and we're very much here for the educational and informational purposes only. What I will caution you to is the market is shifting. And so putting all the options on the table and knowing what that looks like for you now versus if you wait 3 or 4, 6 months a year, if you were to do the upgrades to the property versus not. Those are all the things we're going to talk about. So go ahead and pick a time for us to meet. I'm super excited to meet you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. Have a great one.